Next entity I understand members wish to debate is Sport and Recreation New Zealand. The question is that the report of the Government Administration Committee on the 2008-09 financial review of Sport and Recreation New Zealand be noted. I call Rahui Kātani.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What about those All Whites, eh? Hasn't it been exciting watching your progress up to and through the FIFA World Cup? Hasn't it been exciting to see the rise in support for football here in New Zealand? And hasn't it been exciting to see the way that Māori Football Association has tried to run a campaign to get football as a credible alternative to rugby and the rugby league? And hasn't it been exciting listening to Winston Reid and to Rory Fallon, both All Whites, who have spoken of their desire to return home and to inspire Māori and Polynesian youngsters to follow football. And yet, if we were to talk to the manager of Māori Football New Zealand, Phil Pickering Parker, he would tell us that the All Whites had in the past been invisible to New Zealand youth, who lacked some visible role models, whether Māori or non-Māori. Nowadays, there are roughly 50 to 60,000 Māori youth across both genders playing football. And yet, when we look at the 2008-09 financial review of Sport and Recreation New Zealand, football is invisible in the review of the performance and current operations of Sport and Recreation New Zealand. I want to commend the initiative, the vision and the commitment of people like Winton Whairufa and Phil Parker, who have done so much to generate energy for the new growth sport of football. Phil Parker of Ngāti Manawa is an amazing legend. After his own football career took him from Kawerau to South London, he has now become a qualified elite coach to Aotearoa's budding football stars. It's all about mentoring and development to our young players, something that one would have thought that was an appropriate role for Sport and Recreation New Zealand to take on. There are other notable omissions from the 2008-2009 financial review. Yes, the Rugby World Cup is there with its $1.5 million for volunteers, but there's nothing in there supporting the Aotearoa Māori Women's Sevens team, who took out the Roma Sevens final against France and Italy just 20 days ago. These young women are great ambassadors for their country, their whānau, their culture. They are 7 times international winners, having won the Women's Rugby Sevens Championship in 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 2010. What is even more exciting is that the Women's Sevens Rugby is now an Olympic sport in 2016. The opportunity to compete internationally and enjoy world-class success is an amazing experience for our young Māori men and women and provides automatic career openings for many of them. Yet although it is supported by the New Zealand Rugby Union through its Māori board whakapūmautanga, no funding has followed. The team is celebrated across Aotearoa. It has received support from Te Puni Kōkiri, from the New Zealand Community Trust and New Zealand First Sovereign Trust over the years, and yet nothing from Sport and Recreation New Zealand. It is hard to fathom out why. Third time lucky. Perhaps I'll try basketball. We've been aware of young Māori players selected for the Young Tall Blacks and yet struggling to attend the tournaments due to a lack of funding. Again, nothing in the latest review indicated support for this high growth area of sporting excellence. So what about Wakaama? Nothing in the report, and I know that my 2 young nieces who went to the Worlds in Tahiti just a couple of months ago had to fundraise really hard. Quiz evenings, sausage sizzles to be able to get there. Mr. Chair, every year the National Māori Sports Awards show that Māori sports people are demonstrating their incredible talents and abilities in every sporting area across the world. We see Māori world champions represented in sporting areas such as varied as wood chopping and wood sawing, cue ball, rowing, taekwondo or bodyboarding, and yet the only reference that we see in the Sport and Recreation New Zealand that addresses Māori and Pacific communities is one which describes the need to invest in Māori and Pacific Island participation in sport because Spark is worried about the prevalence of inactivity and obesity. Or we see justification for Spark involvement in schools being that they want to support schools in responding to an increasingly risk-averse attitude. Mr Chair, I would refer this House to the amazing initiative in my electorate, the Aranui Sports Academy in Aranui High School, and its mission to motivate Māori in Pacific Islands.
I call Chris Tremaine.